part that you're indicating you're going to be embedded in your strategic plans, that is key. So I don't want to miss that. And so anyway, okay.
So Kim, you said you were going to have students potentially transfer to Murray. Is that Murray State in Kentucky?
Yes.
Uh-huh.
I just want to make sure I had the right Murray.
And they could transfer other places, but Syngenta works very closely with Murray, and they actually have a digital ag center in the city of Murray. So they want to transfer them down there and let them work while they're finishing their bachelor's.
Wow.
Sure.
Well, so far we're batting 100, hearing what you have planned, everyone. Thank you, Kim. Next, or should I ask?
This is Michelle from ICC. I'll go.
Okay.
So we are actually partnering with more employers. I have a lot more employers who have we've been able to reach out to create a more sustainable result, both because of our Good Jobs Grant, which is focused in IT. So we do have a little bit of a leg up because we have another grant that's going to continue and is going to help us build out and sustain the IT. But more importantly, we are focusing on even beyond that, when that's over in 3 years, developing relationships with employers that previously were not necessarily seeing the value of it. We have taken the success stories that we have with current employers, and they're helping to educate. And we have 4 new apprentices that just started this semester. It's 2.5 years, so it won't get done before CAP IT. But still, we had employers, and we've had some new employers who are interested in some of our shorter-term pre-apprenticeship and looking at hiring them while they are still in the pre-apprenticeship. Yay! Because then obviously we can look at what, how that fits within the scope. So I think just really getting the word out and getting more employers signed up, having more employer meetings. Some of them are onesie-twosies. We have some who want 20. So we are advocating and, we are helping them understand the value and how they are going to win throughout all of this. So I do see this is going to go on well beyond June 30th as far as the relationships that we've already built, but we've created a model that we're going to be able to replicate with employers, because that's where it really is. So we're not relying on grant money.
Yes. Yes.
And then as far as challenges, it's still a challenge. It's still, convincing the employers to go ahead and, sign on the dotted line, for lack of a better word, and get them to understand the value of signing up. There's still that challenge, but that we are seeing more wins, I would say, just in January than we had seen for probably 6 months prior. And that is totally due to the visibility of how important IT is in our district.
Okay. Good. So really your sustainability is just going to be really focused around employers, bringing them in, getting them to take ownership.
Yeah. Yes. And I think, well, maybe not everybody knows, but apprenticeships is part of our strategic plan. I mean, that's just part of, not just IT, but it is written in, it's in our departmental goals and rolls all the way up to the institution.
Okay, great. Somebody next?
I'll go next.
Okay, Andy.
So at Richland Community College, we're phasing this out as June comes around as well. A few things are going on. We're finding that on the apprenticeship side, this was a great opportunity for us. By and large, our local employers still prefer the manufacturing and agricultural apprenticeships instead. So that's fine. We're still doing our continuing work as we always have done, the apprenticeships in that area. And we can always still offer IT apprenticeships. It won't be covered by the grants anymore, but if employers want to grow
Mhm.
their IT workforce, they can do so. Our one major employer that's been the bulk of our numbers for the CAP IT grants, they are interested in doing advanced Excel training. So that's kind of our next step because
Okay.
that goes beyond CAP IT. We're working that out for later this year. Since they have people who did the basic training on help desk, now they want to go a step further.
Great.
Yep. And
Great.
otherwise, we were one of, we're going to be part of the JFF Google IT group, and we're working out details on that, having our first coaching session next week.
And could you
our-
give a little more info on that to the group? Does everyone know about what he's talking about? Why don't you go ahead, Andy, and
Yeah, so this was this was presented at our November meeting over in
Mhm.
Springfield. So this is from JFF. They're
uh-huh.
going to be providing paid for Coursera access to do any kind of training. We are focusing on that. We had to choose two, so we're going to focus on Google IT help desk training for one group, and then I think it's an entrepreneurship for another one, but I'm drawing a blank on the exact title, but something relative to that. For the help desk, we're going to offer to our spring semester adult ed students the opportunity to take help desk training while they are working on their GED or their ESL coursework. And we're going to do something for the entrepreneurship side for our high school students here on campus who are in a digital entrepreneurship dual credit course as just something extra for them as they get ready for college and adulthood. And then ultimately, we had to commit to a certain number between now and June of this year, but we could have more past that. And ultimately, we're going to have this as a possibility for seniors, next year's high school seniors in the Decatur Public Schools. They would have one of their class periods spent working on help desk training with a teacher helping them through the topics.
Great. And what about your strategic plan? Do you know if apprenticeship is a part of that or?
Yes, it always has been.
Okay,
The plan that we had just expired at the end of December. Our new one is not launched yet. We've had massive executive turnover, other than the
Yeah,
presidents
right.
these past 6 months or so. But we're working on a new strategic plan, and apprenticeship's always a part of it. Being in a
okay,
largely industrial city, that goes without saying for us.
okay, great.
So Andy, a question that you just said, when did you say adult ed is going to be doing that Google IT certificate?
Yeah.
Did you say summer or
This
next fall?
current spring semester.
Okay.
And that'll be separate from this grant, of course. So this is a whole
Sure.
separate population.
Okay. Angela, you and I are thinking the same thing. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Levon,
Yes,
Levon, do you want, Andy, I just want to mention to make sure that you and everybody else knows that your adult ed department does have, you mentioned entrepreneurial several times. They have access to entrepreneurial curriculum that's been approved by ICCB for use in adult education. So I don't know how that might fit. I know Angela's already thinking about the
Yeah.
certificate program, but I want to make sure that you know, and we can certainly support your adult ed program with that curriculum as well, if that's helpful.
Okay, thank you.
somebody else like to go? Okay, Corey?
Morning, everybody. So I think I shared at the gathering in the fall, that some of these funds really helped us at a time where tech had been considered a strategy for the district for all 7 colleges. And so both programmatic, but also staff-wise, really allowed us to put the infrastructure and implement, the strategies and apprenticeship, frameworks and different things like that. So I think, that just having that leg up in the staff to do that have really set us up for sustainability. I think sometimes that word is scary, but we have grown tech in apprenticeships and internships exponentially, and I don't see that going away. I think to some earlier conversations, I think we're bouncing completely out of the pandemic mode, where for us, so many of those conversations with big companies like CME, CNA, Munich, RSG, they're all coming back to the table. Most of them with plans in place that they expected to execute on, and now they're ready. The very interesting thing, despite all that we're seeing in the media for tech layoffs, all these companies are proceeding forward. And I would say 99% of them all want tech talent. So it's interesting. So these non-tech organizations all want tech talent.
Yes.
Definitely cybersecurity and software development are the leaders. So I think the world, we're probably all positioned a little better for sustainability on our employer partner, just because the world's a little different now. But kind of sustainability plan is to make at least 1 to 2 staff members built into the operational tech strategy. So we've had a tech strategy. It's being refreshed and presented tomorrow as we speak. With that will come additional staffing, particularly in a spot where we have a lot of people out there talking and cultivating employers, but where we've really seen the gap is in that student support space. So truly helping students to and through these experiences. It's all the other things outside the classroom that have been a challenge for us and really a sticking point. And it's those professional employability skills that the employers are coming back to us saying, your students are phenomenal with their technical skills. It's all these other things that we need to kind of incorporate. So we're refreshing the pre-apprenticeship, tech pre-apprenticeship that was started. We have a new staffer in place to really build it out before the grant ends, that can be used going forward. That will provide a lot of that as well. The one thing I forgot to mention, so it's a great problem to have. So now we're at a point where when we look at enrollment, for example, for cyber, we don't have enough students in the cyber track at the level the employers need for the 2024 forecast. So these 2 roles will also be on the outreach side. So really getting in the community and getting students even in to enroll so that they're then qualified for the apprenticeship piece. So kind of, again, that the to and through. And then, we've been very strategic and lucky to have a couple of other large donations from a local tech firm and Bank of America, sorry, kind of under DEI and tech programming, but we have been very deliberate to not double count. And so we have not been counting people participating in those programs as part of CAP IT. And so I think some of the resources that we have as CAP IT winds down, we can take those resources to those campuses where these programs have been operating in this tech space and really help to support them, further. So I think those are all the notes that I had. Yeah.
Great. I think that is really exciting. You all have come a long way. I would like to go back to something that you said just briefly about non-tech companies needing tech workers. I read a fabulous article. Of course, now I can't find it because I would have sent it to all of you, about the very thing that you said. Even though we're seeing all of these tech layoffs, it is a very small portion of the overall tech industry nationwide. And the very thing that you said, employers, it confirmed just what you said. Employers in non-tech industries are going to be capturing a lot of these people that were strictly what we would call, IT. And if I find the article, I will send it all out. I will send it out to all of you because it was very good. And it's hit on some of the very things you're talking about. So thanks, Corey, for mentioning that. Someone else?
I'll go ahead and go. It's Brenda Elliott.
Okay, thanks, Brenda.
So we're doing some reorganization and revamping, and one thing we're doing is revamping our career services area. The software that we were using for student recruitment and interviewing was just not very good, so we're implementing a more robust one, and I think it will greatly help with trying to reach our students, which continues to be a challenge for me. I will continue to use our model that has been successful, our structured learning program that allows us to have a short-term apprenticeship program for the employers. And we tend to go after, because we're state of Illinois and everything is state of Illinois, or our state agencies, we're going after our smaller employees. So ones or twos that we get from time to time. Just like Andy, we're also working with JFF on the Google IT career certificates. We have our first coaching meeting tomorrow. I'm not really sure where that's going to go. We are going to be working with our adult ed area as well. We did something with our scaling grant, which they did a IT bridge to IT careers that led into the Google IT support. So we will continue to do that route, as well as working with our WEI Open Door initiative that we have to place the students into some of these certificates. We are still working out those details because we have not had our first coaching. So that will be tomorrow. Something that we're excited about, but again, it doesn't fall in the CAPID thing, is we are working with DoIT, which is a big state agency for Department of Innovation and Technology. We're working, they are really wanting to do very similar to an apprenticeship, but because of the state agency and all of their rules and the union, they can't do an apprenticeship, but it will involve them hiring the person right off the bat, which is very different from what the state of Illinois usually does, and doing a training program where we will have on-the-job training, we will have mentoring. Some of it is credit bearing. It won't be leading to a degree, but it will be just short of that, so that the student could very quickly finish their associate's degree. So we've had a couple of meetings with them. We expect this to be something big. They're looking at 40 to 60 positions that they have that they need filled. So unfortunately, we can't count that in the CAPID, but it's certainly something sustainable that we can work with. As I will say, we're in Springfield, so we want to work with our state of Illinois agencies. I was not at the November meeting. I was on my COVID deathbed, so I'm sorry I missed all of that. So I'm not sure what if I'm saying things that are from that meeting. Okay, so and then again, we're just continuing to reach out to more of our employers, and they seem to be perceptive to working with us on our structured learning program. So we'll continue to do that.
Thank you. Really good information. I do like the fact that you're going to carry on the structured learning models. And I wanted to ask you quickly about DoIT. I'm kind of putting you on the spot here. If you had not had the CAPIT grant, though, do you think you would have been in the space where you would actually be doing something like this in the with DoIT? I'm just curious. Has it helped?
Honestly, no, I don't think that it had. I think that it came from other channels.
Sure.
So I'm not really sure, but it certainly helped me to be able to help them develop a model that mimics an apprenticeship without being an apprenticeship. So, you know, if you want to say it that way, yes, it has helped with that.
Wonderful. I could see connections there, and you know, you became a resource for that. So good, great.
And let me just say, we're glad you're off of your COVID deathbed.
Yeah.
Me too. I'm glad I can speak because I couldn't even talk that day.
Can I ask Brenda a quick follow-up question? Because I think for our sustainability too, just getting the opportunities and students connected to get them in the opportunities, like opportunities go unfilled, and it's horrible. And so we're also exploring a better platform. Can you share then, is it Handshake or something like that by chance?
Yeah, it's Handshake.
Okay,
we were on Career Coach, and it was terrible. I mean, I would post, I can go out there right now and see that nobody's even looked at it. It's just our students aren't engaging it. And we're also looking at other ways to boost our career services area to begin with. So, and you know, I don't know enough about that area to tell you more about it, but it is Handshake. And I hope that it will be a better resource, and at least I can reach our students, because Corey, that's what I'm struggling with, is I just can't get these students to engage. I will tell you one thing that we have done that's a little innovative, but I'm not sure it's helping that great, but we created, it's called an IT Workspace Hub, And it's in the Canvas, which is our LMS for Lincoln Land. And it's a hub where I post things as far as our jobs go, our structured learning programs, our internships, and our computer science faculty connect our students or have them, tell them to go and look at that area. So I've kind of bypassed having to use the career services software that we have and doing it that way. It's to be determined whether, you know, it's really working that well, but we're just trying different ways to try to get our students engaged, because like you, the last thing I want to do that I've had to do is go to employer and say, I'm sorry, I can't find anybody for your program.
Yeah. Andy from Decatur, from Richland just posted that he moved to Handshake from the other platform, and he said they've had better success.
Great,
So,
glad to hear it.
Could I ask a question? Do any of you use collegecentral.com for posting or, you know, jobs or apprenticeship positions? No. Okay,
No.
just wondered. Okay.
thank you. Good question.
I
would like
can
to
go
go
next if you want.
Sure, yeah, fine.
I actually,
Michelle says they use College Central Network
okay,
from ICC. That's at ICC, so if you want to connect or something, it'd be Michelle DeVore.
okay. So here, I actually missed the afternoon portion of the November meeting, so I am just sort of gonna jump in with what we're currently doing. You know, we're engaged in recruiting apprenticeships, not all in IT, as I think a few other people had said, but the opportunity is there. You know, we're trying to engage employers. The problem is sometimes getting these apprenticeships positions filled. There may not be enough interest in the students. I mean, college wise or size wise, we are a small college. We also have some new people here at the college in the apprentice area. So I'm sort of trying to work with them and network. I mean, all of it obviously fits into our strategic plan, which is was just approved last year. It's sort of building just and thriving communities is the title of it, but there's 3 purposes: strengthening students' Oakton experience, enhancing workforce readiness and community engagement, which is a big part, and advancing racial equity. So again, I think just trying to continue and engage and recruit, you know, that's sort of where I am. And I don't know if that really answered all your, but that's just some of the challenges.
Okay. So you're still working on, with new staff and everything, you're still working on laying out strategies that are going to, what you could actually continue past the grant period.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. As you do work on that, you can let us know, or, you know, plan to share out at another meeting or something like that.
Okay.
But you're building off, let me just go back to one thing. One thing you are doing, you're using your strategic plan. If I heard you correctly, you're going to use that strategic plan and your 3 priorities. So then you would be looking for ways to sustain some of CAPIT appropriately under those different categories. Is that what you're kind of?
Yeah, I mean,
particularly workforce engagement?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, and I mean, and that's really part of my role, you know, working with
Okay.
external partners and trying
Okay.
to bring, you know, bring them into the college community, and in many avenues, and apprenticeships, you know, would be one of them.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much.
Sure.
Okay, we're ready to move on to someone else, please.
So we had kind of discussed back in November, some of the training opportunities that we've been offering to upskill some of our local employers. And we found that it's really, really helped to establish a relationship with the different employers. which then has allowed us the opportunity to kind of express some of the benefits of taking an apprenticeship program on, and also having the students. So we've definitely found that these trainings have offered a great opportunity for the employers to kind of upskill some of their employees, as well as it's allowed us to really build on our relationships with them. So it's definitely something that we're kind of continuing. We're going to offer another workshop here in the spring. And so we're kind of hoping that that'll be something that we can utilize in the future to kind of continue those relationships between the employers and us.
So yours is going to remain more employer focused and build on the success that you've had.
Yeah, and then also it kind of allows us the opportunity then to kind of show them the benefits of, you know, taking one of our students and kind of what we have to offer.
Okay. Any other challenges that you see as you move forward to sustainability?
We are finding, you know, just finding the students who are wanting to participate in these type programs. I think sometimes we find that to be a little bit challenging to kind of find the right fit between the employer and the student.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I think that's probably an issue has been for many. Okay. Any questions of Laura at Kishwaukee? Okay. We're moving through.
We only have 2 colleges left to go,
Right.
College of Lake County and Parkland. So
Hey.
there you go, one of you two, or we're gonna pick one.
Okay, Monica. Hello. Heather?
No, Heather's with Rend Lake.
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry, Heather. I just
Monica-
looked at the,
That's right. Monica unmuted, but I couldn't hear her.
Monica?
So you're unmuted, Monica, but if you're
We can't
talking-
hear you. Well, now that's a clever strategy. Huh?
So I think she's just going to stick with what I shared for us.
Because Monica's with.
Oh, that's
St.
right.
Columbus.
I'm so sorry. I'm seeing names and there's not a college and I'm forgetting who's with whom. So Monica, I apologize for that. I'm looking at who is net. I'm not, see, because I'm not seeing everybody up here. I'm going with,
So it looks like we don't have anyone from College of Lake County or Parkland with us.
yeah, it does. It does. That's it. That's the,
And that's why they're so quiet, because they're not even
yeah,
here.
yeah. I just got names mixed up. I do apologize. Well, that is unfortunate because this was a critical meeting. We'll follow up with them.
So it's a good thing that we're recording it, so now we can
Yeah.
share it with them.
Yeah. Then we have, let's see.
Okay, so are we ready? So those are all great
Yes, they,
ideas,
fabulous.
suggestions, questions, discussion, sharing. So I'm so glad. And you can tell that from this, not everybody's sustaining the same way. And you shouldn't be, because you're all different colleges and you do different things and you have different strengths and you have different staffing. And so that's okay. And really that's what we're looking for is, what are you all looking to be able to sustain out of this? And we know that most of you are not taking this entire huge thing and
no,
gonna
keeping
be
it.
able to just carry it forward. So it's those little pieces of what you can do. So that's all, this has all been great. I've got
And
my 2 pages of notes that you guys were all, because I'm writing everything down you guys are saying.
well, and you know, the other thing is, this is also wonderful information that we will be able to share with the Department of Labor. How, you know, this has either been a leader or a resource or a connecting point, an intersection. You know, there are all kinds of ways to show many of the unintended ways that you ended up bringing Caput into the picture beyond the grant. So thank you so much for your time and your thought that you did put into this, that it's appreciated. So yes, I think if there aren't any questions of anyone, last chance for questions right now. So, okay. All right, we'll move on. And I believe Rebecca. Hello?
Did we lose Rebecca?
Next up
Oh,
on the
no, she's
agenda
here.
would be-
Oh, okay.
there she is Rebecca Lake, and she's gonna be talking about the ins and outs of grant sustainability.
Oh, hello, everybody. We have this great time with you these last 4 years, and we've gone through and above the hurdles that everybody had, and I'm not so sure we all thought we were going to come out the other end, but we did, and with lots of good things. So I want to share with you, and I put this together as if I was one of our colleges, and on the slides is occasionally packed with information, but I want you to keep these slides because these will help you when you're writing your other and new grant proposals, because they're language that you can put in there for here's how we're going to sustain it. When people ask you, just like this meeting, about how are you going to sustain things that you've learned, that we give you some ideas. So this is kind of a resource for you. So, okay, next slide. Just to recap, that this was from October 2018. And what it was really for, innovation and scaling, apprenticeship, etc. But we had these program metrics and participant outcomes, the numerical outcomes that we needed to meet. And the battle cry, of course, for me is spend the money, count the students, which means when you count the students, you've counted them as served. So next slide, please. So what does the sustainability mean? And I think Levon kind of alluded to it. It doesn't mean you're going to keep all of these activities as is, because it's just not logical, and colleges can't do that as you conceive them in a proposal. And as we all know, when you write the proposal, as many of us have, it is a proposal. And so you submit it, and you are surprised. I always was when I got awarded, and then you have to make sure that you put it into action. And what we all know is that 2 or 3 months after you put it into action, you have to change it because you forgot something or something changed or whatever. It was just a proposal. So know that that's very logical for it to change and how you implement it. But programs evolve over time. And so we have all these changes and challenges and things that we've never seen before. And you have to make changes. What was nice about this grant was that you had Angela and Levon that would work with us and make sure that you could get your changes done. And it didn't take 6 months to 8 months to get it done, or not get it done ever. The sustainability that's written in proposals is just a roadmap for achieving those project long-term goals and their ideas. And so my suggestion was, go back and read what was in your proposal, particularly that little section, because they'll always want to know what you think you're going to do for sustainability. Next slide, please. So just so you know, and I think all of you do, the sustainability plans are different by different types of grants. So if you have a capital grant or a capacity building grant or a program project grant, which is what CAPIT was, most of the DOLs are that. If you have an NSF grant or NIH grant, then you might, be a research grant. So know that all the grants have specific requirements and specific requirements for the sustainability plan. The reporting, I don't want to talk too much about AGS Prime because all know I don't like it. And so kudos to ICCB for spending the time with each one of us and the colleges to make sure we understood where those numbers go so that you actually can reflect what it is that you will have, just so that you can make sure that everybody knows how many you've served, what kinds of activities they've been in, and really showcase that you've done a really good job. And so we're so thankful to Angela Lavonge for putting in that, and Todd and Jay for putting that extra time in, because without that, our numbers would still be, at 10 or 11, and it's not anywhere close to that. It's very high. So thank you. Next slide, please. So why do you need a grant sustainability section? And most clearly, it helps the proposal more likely to be funded. So you want to make sure that you have something that's logical, that somebody reading it can say, oh, I think they probably could do that, and could probably use it over time. Because what they want to do is they want to, all the funders, whether it's a state funder or a private funder or the DOL, wants to make sure that they're not throwing their money down the rabbit hole, that actually something is happening and going to be sustained. See, that's that sustainability section again, when they award you funds. So you want to make sure that you're able to say to the funder, here's multiple ways that we might do this over time. And they really, I like the term return on investment. They really want to know that they're getting a good bang for their buck, and that I've given you this money, and here's what you're going to not only do some programmatic changes and metrics that you've made because you've put part of them in your proposed proposal and met your numbers, but that also it can continue, and you could spread that information throughout other colleges or across your college, and hopefully get buy-in or use some of it to pilot. Next slide, please. So here's the annoying questions you got to answer, and they are annoying. I know I've had to answer them, and they're a pain in the butt. And you're writing this, and you're thinking about how will I sustain it? And because see at the bottom, I put that it's always tricky, because you have to make the case that you'll be fine if you don't win it, but that you still need it. You still need the money. So I've included some language and words towards the back that will help you, some examples of what you might include, such as you should address those kinds of things like community sustainability, and that means the partnerships. And you all have done that. You actually all have done that. And so this is kudos to you and your hard work. And I would really say you ought to capitalize this word. It's called perseverance. Without that, you guys would be really not doing anything. But you persevered, and you are quite remarkable men and women that said, because we all know how much we all love this grant, and in many ways, but you kept persevering, and it turned out to be something that you could truly work with. So 3 parts you should always address in their proposal of sustainability is something maintaining those partnerships, whether the grow and those ones that you already have, or get new ones and that kind of thing. Financial sustainability, what you might keep using, and some kind of organizational sustainability, useful, whether it's policies or processes or personnel or systems, or you bought equipment or professional development training that your staff has. So when you, and as an example, when you write that proposed sustainability section, include some, don't, I am going to say this 3 times, don't be specific, because you want wiggle room. You want wiggle room in there. You want to say, this is what we'll do, but we'll do other things when they come, when we engage with them. Or if another direction comes, we'll do that too. So we will, we have success with this grant, and we'll use those efficient, effective things we learned as a result to meet financial issues in the college or in our next grant. So please don't be, and a lot of you don't write this grant, but when you're talking to people, if you do at your college and they say, we're going to write for this grant, just remind them, don't be so specific that you have no wiggle room, even in your sustainability section. All right, next slide, please. So this is really for funders. Not only those, it would be nice if somebody knew what the sustainability section was after you get awarded, but nobody bothers to look at it again. So just to let you know, nobody cares after that. But the funders want to see success. So when a funder awards a grant like DOL, they're taking some risk, and they trust the college will have a sustainability strategy to keep the intent or the goals going, at least have capture some result of the outcomes. Donors attempt to make sure that the project resources have a sustained impact on education. You know, we talk a lot about the students and keeping the students in, and you know, perhaps wraparound services, but colleges, community colleges, we're educators, so they want to make sure that we have an impact on students' education. So retaining them in, understanding that they have lives of their own that interferes with all of this. But we also, which is the key piece on a lot of these grants now, is that we want to make sure they're in a position to get jobs and change the lives of themselves and their families. And the assessment is done off of how many, what the metrics were, and they want to see that you met the metrics. So the funder ROI after the grant is not as is, but does it encompass a much larger, broader concept? It does. It refers to those outcomes such as advantageous systems or processes or curriculum development, implementation, cooperative bridges that you built with employers, CBOs, because we're educators. CBOs, a lot of CBOs in the community do those wraparound services. Somebody does transportation, or somebody might do mental health, or somebody might do transportation, or somebody might do housing. So they have a variety of efforts that we, as the college who does education, can help the student take advantage of. Next slide, please. So wrapping it up, there was a very nice lady, Cheryl Clark was an author of storytelling for grant seekers, and I don't particularly like storytelling, but she made a good point in that she suggested that the sustainability part of your grant, and it's future funding plan or what you might do is actually the sequel to the story you told about your proposal. So thinking about sustainability is not something to be left until your grant is coming to the end. Although I'm going to tell you how I think about it. If I didn't write that section myself, I probably wouldn't think about it till later. But at least in this last year, think about what you learned, and you're starting to share that. And you learned probably a lot more than you think you did. What might be adopted? Do you have a streamlining process that you who know me very well know I love saying to somebody, let's pilot it for a year. Let's just pilot it and see how that goes. I like doing that, particularly when it's spread across the entire college, because we still have these silos and most often they don't talk to each other. So this is a good way to help the silos kind of melt a little bit, or be able to share with other sections of the college, whether it's Career Center or admissions or whoever it might be, marketing even. If you do talk to marketing, that's sometimes a real problem, is that here's some of the things that we learned. Identify the resources that you need to keep those parts of the grant project and working to obtain them. Develop buy-in among other grant strategic partners, whether they're inside your college or in the community. We want to share with them lessons learned. And I am going to absolutely tell you, you have lessons learned in every single grant that you run. So, and sometimes there are parts in that that you want to sustain. So that really do make a difference in, say, for example, for recruitment or retention. And you want to share those with admissions, who does all the recruitment, and then with academic departments and non-academic departments, like CE or customized training, about how to help the student be retained so that you can finish whatever project or program you're in. Next slide, please. So the final year. So you answered what worked very well, and therefore what's sustainable. And you want to think about setting clear and realistic expectations. So be selective about, and you have, I heard from everybody, the colleges that were represented, and you gave great demonstrations to what was effective and efficient that you're going to keep using, and you want to share. Consider ways to institutionalize or incorporate some of the efforts that you had of great ideas. Maybe it's how to talk to, maybe you can share it with customized training, corporate training, or CE about how to get more students in. Maybe it's whoever is running your apprenticeship initiatives. Share with them ideas, share the companies. You all need to have some CMS system so that you all know who the companies out are there, who's talked to who knows the names. Collaborate with those partners, how to continue those relationships, and then document produce the data. If somebody says, so how did that go? I'm glad you asked, because we met all our metrics. So we were close to one, but we met most all the metrics. Matter of fact, we beat them. And we have met and involved in our college 10 new companies that weren't involved with this. Essentially, toot your own horn as you go along. And I would suggest you don't wait till the end, but people need to know you're successful and what you have brought to the college. What most people in the silo of academics don't have any idea, that actually the non-credit customized training and CE adult ed bring anything to the college. I always tell people, you all bring in funding and introductions, and particularly with the funding, it all goes to the bottom line. So if everybody wants a paycheck, you all need to contribute to the bottom line, and you are. Not just academics, It's the other side of the house. It's the house that does the budget and meets the bottom line. Next slide. So what to include in a sustainability plan? Please keep this because this is language that you might want to use and others might use. So explain the sustainability planning has been conducted throughout your grant. Those are the kinds of things that you might say. Note how grant practices were always continually evaluated. You know, I talk about CQI a lot, continuous quality improvements, and what you changed, what you thought would be when you proposed, but what you changed and you found that needed to be changed. Some personnel was hired, or maybe they received additional training. Don't forget, if your staff or your faculty got professional development training, that's with them forever. They carry that forward. So that's, you know, the continuation of professional development and what they learned, which helps other students throughout all their classes. That could be something that this additional training was in the sustainability plan that this CAPA grant made possible. Equipment, whatever the equipment and supplies that you purchased through the CAPA grant, they will be there. Explain how the outputs produced during the grant will continue to support the operations, particularly, you know, there's probably a new website or a website was upgraded, some marketing campaign upgrades of a new curriculum. You might have even made a new curriculum. And if there was anything in the processes or policies, particularly streamlining, because most colleges always have this thing that, you know, we've done it for 20 or 30 years like that, and we don't want to mess it up. Well, you know, sometimes you need to mess it up, and sometimes streamlining for the adult in particular. And, you know, we need to look at adults more than high school graduates, because that pool of candidates coming into community colleges, as we know, is going down. So make sure that you talk to everybody to understand the efficiency and effectiveness of different kinds of things that you put into place, and that you built these partnerships and grew these partnerships. Look what others have done. So just so that you know, you can go to this website, Access High Growth Community-Based Grantee Solutions. This place has solutions. So competency model, distant learning tools, you can search and download all kinds of solutions. So see where you might even put some of your stuff up there. And don't forget the Skills Common. Who can forget in TAC grants the free Skills Common? So that you can have too. So I think we have one more thing that says questions or something. I don't know. Oh, so share it.
You got a couple more, yeah, share it.
Yeah, share it. So if nobody knows you're this good and that all the stuff you've done, why would you ever think that they would give you some kudos for doing so well? And so if you keep it, remember the hide it under the bushel, if you keep everything secret, then nobody knows. So you need to share it everywhere. Describe at college meetings, talk about the amount of funds you've received and that you've spent them all so that students could come in, describe the benefits, explain what was learned, graciously thank college colleagues, because nobody likes it better than if you say, I really liked Ed, who was all his help, who was in admissions and helped us work on this, or whoever was in career services. Okay, next slide. Okay, and there you go. So I hope you find this useful in some ways. Keep it as a reference, because there are phrases that you can use when you're developing your last sustainability plan or your section of when somebody said, so how did this CAPA grant go? You can say, Well, I'm glad I always say that. I'm glad you asked, because I've got 5 things that we did really well, and that we're going to keep 3 or 4 of these, and I'm sharing that around, and it would be just one piece of paper. That you also, if you get invited to help write the grant, you will have some language to put in that section, because all the funders will have that section. So just use this as some resource. The last thing that I want to really stress with you is that you did a hell of a job. And if you keep it quiet, nobody will know. And so you need to be able to share it across your college to really say, this was a tough one because COVID hit, but you know, we survived and we made it, and we met most of the outcomes, beat some of them, because you all did. And so don't ever forget that you did a great job, and you need to share that across the college. Okay.
So yeah, let's open the floor up for questions. You guys can post your questions in the chat, or feel free to just unmute and shout those out for Rebecca. Any questions, comments, anything sparked that she said?
I have 2, but I want to wait to see if the colleges ask anything first. I don't want to jump in there too soon, but I do have 2 questions. Can I go ahead, Amy, or do you want me to wait?
Go ahead. Doesn't seem like
Okay.
anyone.
So one of the things that I think always happens, or at least it has happened with me with grants, how do we, throughout the grant, when we're actually living in it, particularly something that's as intense as this one, how do we capture, first question is, what's going on through the grant, what we're doing well, you know, and how we made changes and where we evolved while we're in the middle of the grant? So what are some techniques? Like, do we keep a log? Do we, you know, that sort of thing? Then my second question is, on the one slide where you shared about, talk about fiscal sustainability, community sustainability, organizational sustainability, is there also room in there for, or maybe it fits under one of the others, students? If it's a grant that is serving individuals, should we talk about how we plan to sustain students, like a 4th component, or do you capture, are you considering that in community?
Let's take the first one first.
Okay.
Here's what I've always done. Every time that there was a quarterly report, you know, we all know where those are, and we always have to do them, is that the team and I would meet, and this is a suggestion, and we just kind of go through which is sort of what we do when we, us coaches do when we talk to colleges, which is, let's review the numbers and how are you spending the funds? And then what are you doing? What's new? And what did you do? And so we always did that. And then we said, so what should we change? And so we put it right there. And so if there was nothing we were changing, then it's called CQI, Continuous Quality Improvement. And I do that because as some of you know, a long time ago, I was in nursing and in hospitals and home health care, and I was the vice president of a hospital and surgery center. I ran a surgery center. Anyway, so we used to do quality assurance, and then it changed to CQI. And so I am very into, well, if that didn't work, what else we do? And so, or what came up, and I was, you know, a nurse in the ER, and you don't wait around. So if something happens and you need to change it, you change it. And you say why. If you ask me anything, I'll have 3 reasons why for everything. So because there has to be a reason you change something. And so I just wrote it there. We just wrote it there. And so sometimes you would have it and sometimes you wouldn't, you know, because you didn't change anything. But we did a lot. When we ran the AAI grant, the American Association of Apprenticeship Initiative grant, we made changes because that was the first time in the country, and we did changes to almost everything. How do you market? Then we did changes to answering the phone for the students, and then we did changes for, we need to have 2 open houses. We need 1 a month, and just many little changes. We need a better form for that. And so it was very easy. Please do not make it hard for yourself. I don't agree with hard for yourself or make an extra work. If you have a meeting and a quarter, you have it because you got to write the thing. A quarterly report is that you just say, so did we change it? We need to, oh, here's what I'm having trouble with. And so then, well, let's change it. Okay, let's change that next quarter. Let's see how that goes. And so that's that one. That's how that's easy. Students, sustaining things for students are always embedded within the community or the organization
Okay.
or the financial. Because once you change or tweak something in those 3, it perhaps somewhere down the road, you know, the butterfly effect, you know, somewhere down the road, it should affect good student outcomes. So unless it's not a very good decision, then it might do student outcomes the wrong way. We're not saying that every single decision that you make is going to be great. That's why you do CQI, to say, how is it really doing? And I think what's nice about this group and Capit is that nobody was dug in to, that's the decision we made, that's the proposal somebody wrote in my college, and so I have to keep to that. And none of you did that. It was like, we're really not making good progress. We need help, and what else can we do? And Angela and Levon were, plus our coaches, the coaches, were right there with you to say, we'll help you do that. But none of you dug in and said, listen, I made the decision, that's what we're doing. And that was smart of you, because as we know, COVID came and stuff happens, and you have to adapt. And you did. And so kudos to you.
Thank you.
So I had 2 things I wanted to add. One's really short, one's real. So when you were talking about checking in, that's one reason why we go through the quarterly reports, to look
Right.
and see who's got challenges, what do we need to do for PD to make it better, to make it helpful. So while some of them could find the challenges, could see that they couldn't quite get past them, we drug them along, some kicking and screaming, some cheering and happy. But we helped with that check-in, just like you said, Rebecca, to make sure we were moving things along, you know, whether it was AGS Prime, whether it was working with employers, whether it was recruiting students. I mean, if you went back and looked at all of the meeting agendas for over the last 4 years, you'd have a whole broad range of topics that we have shifted and changed. Again, probably that happened a little easier because of COVID. I mean, because we had to, there wasn't a choice. And some of it was a little harder. The other thing I will tell you, you mentioned making sure you're focusing on adult students. I did a quick Google search of what is the average age of community college students, and nationally that age is 28. So those of you, if you're involved in your institutional strategic planning and they're talking about the 17 to 24-year-olds, please remind them that nationally the average is 28. So I'll leave that at that.
And I will say, I know pre-pandemic, the average age for the Illinois community college system was 32. I remember Karen Hunter Anderson saying that at several different events. 32 to 35 is where most of the students hit for Illinois system. That was, again, back Karen, so pre-pandemic, different world, but not all that long ago.
Yeah, I think that, you know, because many of the colleges are down, so, you know, the percentage of enrollment is down, is that they're looking at ways to bring people into the college. And adults want and need to come back because they're either career changers or need to upskill, and they do not want to take you know, two semesters to do it. They often just need short-term training, and they'll pay for it so that they can get in and get out, get the boost, go to the new job, whatever it might be. But, you know, we need to perhaps, instead of being, you know, high school students are going to come and do enrollment's going to be there forever and we're going to get our money. Maybe we need to look at, broaden that perspective and say, yeah, but everybody, because some colleges are only meeting their kind of their
Traditional.
numbers is because they're using dual enrollment as part of the number. And so, but adults have money and they want it now, and they don't want to take a long time to get this, but they'll pay, and they'll pay extra for it, as long as it's streamlined and it's not so hard to get in. I was at a college and had to find the room. My God, it was in one of the buildings in the back, in the middle, and you had to take a staircase up and I'm thinking, what adult person would want to come here for a class when you can't even find the room? So make it simple for it. But that's just my thought.
Well, you know, that's an excellent thought, and I don't want to get off topic, and I know we have to be conscious of time, but Angela, would you send that article? Because I was thinking about this meeting when I was reading that article. I passed an article on the adult learner to Angela and Alex. Angela, would you share that with the CAPIT group after this meeting? And it really does talk about, and as you're thinking about sustainability, and maybe also to trying to get more numbers the rest of this year, thinking about the re-enrollment of the adult student and how that can fit into, many of you, of course, are doing adults. As a matter of fact, I would say that a large proportion of the apprenticeships we have had are adults in the CAPIT grant. But this just gave some other ideas. And so if you would share that, even if you don't use it for CAPIT, you're all there and looking to increase enrollment. So share that article, and I think you'll all find something in it that would be substantive for you. Please, thank you.
So here's what I'm going to do. I'm forwarding that email right now to Amy. So
okay,
when she has the recording all rendered and ready to go,
okay,
she will send the slides, the recording, and that article all in one email. So you guys aren't getting like all these hodgepodge of emails trying to figure out what's where and from who and what that looks like.
Okay, great. That works. Whatever works.
I want to share one last thing, excuse me, is that for some reason, adult ed and adult learners have this. These are not the people that need GED and ESL.
No.
And so I like, Levon, just in your conversation, the adult student, the adult student might be different than adult ed. So, so that we really know we're talking about the adult student who's 45, or the painter who wants to come back and do something else with IT and not paint walls anymore, or whatever it might be, but it's the adult student. And it's unfortunate that those two terms are so similar. And so I liked it when you said the adult student and then adult ed, so.
Right, and this article is strictly for adult student. It is not referring to adult ed. It is strictly for that adult student, just so you know when you see it.
Yep. So thank you, everyone. I appreciate your time, and hopefully it'll be helpful for you now and in the future. So just keep them.
Thank you, Rebecca. All right.
We're back. You can't get rid of us when it comes to numbers. Angela, do you want to kick this one off since I kicked the last one off? Okay.
That's fine. So numbers matter. And when we were putting this agenda together, we knew we wanted to talk about numbers, and really we're talking about two different sets of numbers. There's your dollar amount numbers, that we have met with everybody and talked
Right.
about your expenses and your match and where each person is, where, you know, and we could pull up a slide that shows everybody's numbers, but it doesn't really matter to Rend Lake what City Colleges is doing because they're not responsible for City College's numbers. They're responsible for Rend Lake's numbers and vice versa. So we're not going to pull up that big chart and show everybody all those unless Levon tells me differently.
No, we're not.
And then, but the other piece of numbers that matter is your program measures, your performance measures. And so, you know, when you hear from Levon and I, we're usually either talking about the performance measures or we're talking about your budget numbers. And so a lot of you are pretty close to on track with your expenses and your matches. Many of you are pretty close and on track, have hit some, not all, most of a variety of your performance measure numbers. And so really, we just wanted to remind you guys again to go to make sure you're looking at those. We were in I did AGS Prime sessions with everyone 2 weeks ago. And again, you pretty well know where you are. So we will look at quarter reports when those all come in. Here's your friendly reminder. They're due next Monday. I think we already got one, so woohoo, go you, that already sent it. But we'll go in and we'll do a comparison again of your finances. Where are you? Where should you be at the end of halfway through? And then also looking at performance measures. Who made what gains? Where are we at? How do we stand as a whole? And we'll compare those numbers and we'll be in contact between, okay, so AGS Prime says, and I'm going to pick on Rend Lake just because I just mentioned them. AGS Prime says you have 53 apprentices and you're reporting 425. That's a difference. Can you explain?
That's a problem.
That's a problem. And Heather and Kim, I know you don't have 425 apprentices, so don't panic. We're not expecting that number. But we'll go through and we just know that we do continually look at those. We have to turn in a report to DOL that's due it's due in February, not November.
Yeah, February 15th.
February 15th, that covers all the numbers, the expenses. I mean, a lot of the information that you guys provided today, we'll pull out and we'll put into that report, just like Levon said. So there's lots of different parts and pieces as to where the numbers matter. Levon, what else would you like to add?
Well, a couple things that Angela and I talked about too. We know there's going to be lag. First of all, to preface this, we do not have an answer yet on the no cost extension. So we know some of you have been very clear, I don't want to go beyond June 30th, et cetera. But two things that stand out when we talk about numbers, as you know, there's completers and there's completers that have a credential. So I think that's 3 and 4. And so of our measures. And so we know that they could potentially lag. And in order to meet those numbers, one of the reasons we were asking for an extension was to have time to capture those during an extension period. So one area that we want you to continue to keep tabs on is the completers and the completers with credentials, that you are entering those as quickly as you can, just so we capture that as many as we can legitimately, of course, by the end of the grant. And then she did talk about, Angela, we talked about the DOL report. And then once again, you know, as many completers as you can get in by June 30th. We don't know when we'll have a response on the DOL extension. So just keep on top of those numbers. If you have, I guess the next thing would be, does anyone have any questions that you've thought of since you had your AGS Prime session? And do you have any questions since you have had your one-on-one discussion around expenses, expenditures, and match? Are there any new things that have popped up or anything like that that you could think of? Concerns or I think we did a pretty thorough job and we had good discussions. I wasn't in on AGS Prime, but I was in on the expenditure and match discussions, and those I thought went really well. So if you've thought of anything since then, though, this was an opportunity to bring that up to the full group.
So while you're all pondering your amazing questions that you're getting ready to ask, one thing that I do want to add is that when Levon and I were talking yesterday afternoon, we ran numbers to see where
Yes,
we
we did.
are as of today, yesterday afternoon, really. For what's currently in AGS Prime through the end of December, we are still about 140-ish students short on line 2, which is apprentices enrolled. So not even the completed, they've got to get in there. So 140 as a whole state, that's really, let me just say, that's a really low number from where we started. So we are
Yeah.
super excited, but we still have 140. And so we know that there's, I know there's a couple of programs that even mentioned today, we're going to run a thing in the
Right.
spring. We're going to do one in the spring. We're going to do one in the spring. We get that, and that's fine. We just want you all to be aware that we still haven't quite hit that number yet. So even if you can still get, and not necessarily for Q2, but in the spring, if you're debating, oh, should we, shouldn't we, we're really close on
Yes,
our
put them
number,
in.
please consider doing it. And well, because we can't have completers until we have enrollers. And so you've got to have your enrolled number, but I think the enrolled number is like 840.
842 is what we're supposed to have, and I think we're at 701.
Something like that.
Yeah.
But for completions, we only have to have like 330,
Something close to that.
400. And so we know that not everyone that enrolls is going to complete. So we understand that, but again, you can't have completers until you have enrollers. And so, we know that this is a chain reaction on timing. This is not new information for any of us involved with this grant, that it just takes time. So just know that we are getting close on numbers, but sometimes the closer you are on numbers, the more nervous I get, because I just need 3 more students. And so the perfectionist in me says we have to have 3 more students. So any brilliant questions? You guys are really quiet today.
I think that's really pretty much what we had on numbers, just because we just want to do reminders. That's all.
Yes, correct.
I was just gonna mention, I have a large group to enroll, so we're actually working on it tomorrow. But it's about 74, 75 people.
So, and that will be for December, or will that be like
no,
third
this
quarter?
is for the third quarter.
Okay.
So yeah.
There's half of them. Come up with the other half. Go Oakton. So, and we've said that all along, that this really is a team effort. And some of you have overdone in some areas and been under in others. And so we're all just helping each other get to June 30th in case we don't get that extension. But if we do get the extension, then we'll keep plugging along with some of them. And we know, so Levon said, we know some of you are like, June 30th cannot come soon enough. We are done. Others of you want an extension and want to continue on. And so we are exploring that option as well.
Right.
So we are exploring it. We just don't have an answer yet, really, is where we're at.
Yeah.
All right, Amy, you can switch the slides back. That's fine. Okay. So the ESL person in me loves all of those thank yous in different languages on the screen. So
I didn't want to rush you. I felt like I rushed you when we had questions. So
nope, we're good. The next time that we all are together should be March 9th. It's an advisory committee meeting. It's going to be virtual. The plan is 9 to 11. And I will admit to an oversight that I have made. I was supposed to send you all an email previous to this meeting. That didn't happen. But the email basically was saying, we would like each of you to invite 2 employers, if you can, to the advisory meeting. We're going to try to keep it as short as possible for the employers. Do 30 45 minutes with the employers,
most.
maybe at most, because we know employers are busy and they don't want to block out a 2-hour time window. So if each of you could invite, I mean, and if you invite 2 and only 1 shows up, we've still got a group of employers there. And hopefully we can hear from them on what they've thought of the grant, what kind of sustainability type things they're willing to help with and work towards and that sort of thing. But we've got a list of questions that I have the email crafted. I just didn't get it sent. That will have some questions that you can pose to them. So, I mean, they're not going to have, I mean, there's like 5 or 6 questions. They're not each going to have to answer each of those questions, but
Right.
if they can contribute here or there or whatever, that will help.
Angela, can I just jump in real quick?
Sure.
Hi, sorry, I just wanted to add, I wasn't sure if I heard you say this, but for the employers, it would be a virtual participation. So they don't actually have to come to Bloomington unless they feel so, or wherever we happen to have the
Whole
meeting, unless
event
they
is
feel
virtual.
so.
The whole thing is
The whole
virtual.
of it, then never mind.
whole
then
event,
I'm
sorry, that's
moving
on
on.
Virtual meeting. the whole-
Apologize. I
whole meeting.
apologize. Okay, then we're all virtual and that works even better. Okay, thank you.
Yes. So to Andrea's point, that it is virtual. So it is 45 minutes of their morning. We try to do it in the earlier section. Then we can talk about what did they tell us? What can we use? How can we, implement this? So it will all be virtual. So if you want to go ahead and put it on your calendars, that would be fabulous and wonderful. So everybody's there. I will get the agenda sent out so you all can do it. And when we send the calendar invite to you guys, then you can just forward that on to your employers. We won't need to have a separate, or do we, Amy, help me with this? Do we need a separate link for them?
No, they can all just come onto one link.
Okay, and do we need a registration specifically?
So we had discussed having a registration, and I'd like to just kind of open that up to the group. If we have a registration that allows it to go on your calendar and then you have a direct link when you come on. The issue is when we send it out to the listserv, some of your colleges throw that into junk and then you don't ever get that calendar invite. So I think I would recommend sending out a registration link, and therefore people can just register and then it goes automatically on their calendar. They can add it to their calendar and then they know what to click on that day.
And they can share that link with employers.
Yes, and it would just literally be first name, last name, email. That's all we're
Yeah,
looking for.
okay.
Does that sound like a good plan for everybody on this call?
That's
Do you
fine.
think you'll be able to get an employer or 2 to attend?
For me, I think so. I think I have 1 person who could attend.
Good.
I feel like Rem Lake can possibly get at least 1.
And we know that, people end up sick at the last minute. And so, but again, if we can there's 10 of you. So even if we get 10 or 12 employers on the call, that will be more employers than we had at the last advisory meeting. And I'll just leave it at that. So is there anything else? And I just got another quarterly report in my email while we're talking. So, and it wasn't from anyone on this call, so I'm not calling anyone out for double working, because I know none of us ever do that on a call. Lavon, Amy,
I have
Andrea,
nothing else.
Cassandra?
Thank you for the great input. No, I have nothing else, and don't want to hold you when we're not really doing something of substance, but
So Andrea, you did have your hand raised. You just took it down, I think. Okay. And now my view is weird. Okay. Anything else from anyone for the good of the cause? Are we good? I think people are starting to drop off, which is fine.
Thank you.
Elise,
Just thank you, I was gonna say.
okay. So you get an extra, looks like according to my clock, 26 minutes
Yep.
back to your day that you had already scheduled out. Corey's already working on his mid-morning snack. Go, Corey. So go get coffee, go get a snack, go for a walk. And we will see you all on March the 9th.
Thank you,
thank you
everybody.
so much, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.